movie was The Wizard of Oz. Does anybody know that movie?
I do.
Yeah. You know it, Randy? All right, good. Well, Randy, you're a little bit younger than me, so you might have to imagine this in your mind, but when I was a little girl, there was no such thing as a DVD player. There were no Netflix. There were no Xfinity on demand. There weren't even VCRs when I was a little, or cable when I was a little girl. I mean, I lived back in the dark ages, so I can imagine some of you, didn't even have TV when you were little. And so we couldn't just pull up a movie anytime we wanted to. We could only watch it once a year when it was broadcast on the TV. Some of you are shaking your heads. You remember this. And so Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie, and it was a big night at our house when that came on TV. My mother would make a big bowl of popcorn. Now, she didn't cook it on the stove. We actually had one of those air poppers that you put the kernels in and it shoots the popcorn out. You know what I'm talking about? And then we did have a microwave. It was really big, like about this big, about this high, and she would put a whole stick of butter in the microwave and melt it. And then we would pour it all over the popcorn, and oh, how it smelled delicious. And then my sister and I would get in our jammies, and my mom and dad would sit on the couch, and we'd snuggle in between them with that big giant bowl of popcorn, and we would sit down, and we would watch the story of Dorothy Gale, farm girl from Kansas. And for those of you who know the movie, it starts out in what? Black and white, that's right. Showing the starkness of Kansas and her life. And then a big giant tornado comes, a big windstorm, kind of like our storm in our story today. And what happens to Dorothy? She gets sucked up in the tornado and ends up where? In Oz, in the beautiful land of Oz, where we see red, sparkly shoes, and she follows a yellow brick road. And while she's following that yellow brick road, she meets some friends along the way. She meets a man made of straw and a man made of tin. And as they're going about hand in hand or arm in arm with her little dog Toto in the basket, they enter into a forest. A big, dark, scary place. And they start to hear things. They don't know what it could be. And they imagine that they see things, and they don't know what they're going to see. And after a while, they begin to sing a little song that goes like this, as they're imagining the things that could be in the forest. If you know it, say it with me. It starts out with lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Yes. And they become very, very afraid. And you might be wondering, okay, Pastor Cindy, all that is well and good, but what does this have to do with our story? I couldn't help but think about how we are all on that journey, like Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, as we try to figure out this thing we call church. And the world can be like that forest sometimes. It can be like a dark and scary and terrifying place. And we get afraid of what we can't see. We become scared of what we don't know. I mean, take a moment and look around you. You see strange things this morning, or strange people? People you don't know maybe very well? Has the church changed? What do you think about these changes? Have you looked at the changes? Have you listened to the changes? Have you felt these changes? Are you afraid? Instead of lions and tigers and bears, this morning we have the wind and the fire and the Spirit. Oh my. The wind and the fire and the Spirit.
Oh my.
The wind and the fire and the Spirit. Yes. We have all these things. And they're scary things sometimes. This violent wind is unpredictable and brings change. We have The fire, also unpredictable because we can't control it. And that brings change. And then we have this glorious Holy Spirit that is all around us, that's within us. And the Spirit asks us to do some pretty terrifying things sometimes. And then we have the prophet Joel, who tells us that with the Spirit inside of us, we will prophesy. We will see new things. We will dream new dreams. And that can be terrifying. I always laugh when I see pictures of the church. The search committee says, yes, pastor, we want a new pastor who will come in here and bring growth, but don't change anything. And I think sometimes we live like that. We live in the forest. We're scared, we're afraid, and we don't like change. We don't like to prophesy. We don't need to see new things. We don't want to envision new visions. We like things just the way we are. Thank you very much, God. So don't be giving me these abilities because I don't want to use them. I want to stay comfortable and happy just the way I am. But this story, if it tells us anything, it tells us that it brought about a new concept. Something called the church, where the disciples come together, we come together to dream new dreams, to envision new visions, to try new things. God has given each one of us everything we need to accomplish these things. Why are you here? Do you think church is just something we do on Sunday mornings? It's not. Why am I here? Is it to just keep you comfortable and happy? If you think that God sent me not to get under your skin and change things, then you're wrong. We can't move forward as a church if we're too busy looking over our shoulder at all the things that we've always done, or all the ways we've always done them. It's my job, beloved, as your spiritual leader, to keep you focused on God and to keep you moving forward. That's why I'm here. And yes, sometimes you won't like the things that God is calling us to do, things that I will continue to remind you of. Sometimes you won't like the things that your friends or the consistory is asking you to do. But those are the things that God is calling us to be. The church is not a comfortable place. Pentecost reminds us of that again and again. Jesus' words to us are not always words of comfort. They're words of challenge. There's also that word of promise, that you do not have to do these things by yourself. Look around. Who's sitting next to you? Who's up here? What's inside of you? The prophet Joel reminds us that we have this Spirit inside of us, and the things that God is asking you to do are things that God has already equipped you to do. So you don't have to do them by yourself. I don't have to do them by myself. The choir doesn't have to do them. The new members don't have to do them by themselves. We are here as a church. And so we can feel free to dream dreams. We can envision new things. And not have to worry. Yes, some out there will sneer at us and say, oh, those people at Christ Church, they're drunk on new wine. They're drunk on the ability of thinking new things and dreaming new dreams and prophesying new things. But others out there, others will say, wow, look at that church and all they're accomplishing to further God's mission in the world. God has given you these abilities. If you do not use them, are you really bringing your best to God? So, beloved, pour out that Spirit that's inside of you. Use those gifts that you've been given, those gifts of encouraging, or those gifts of listening, or those gifts of baking, or those gifts of singing and praising God, those gifts of playing. dream dreams, envision new ways of doing things, and pour out